Let's just jump right into this. People talk about self-modifying software. I just built it. I mean, what a massive statement, right? But as we're going to see today, Peter Steinberger actually backed it up. We're looking at, honestly, one of the most mind-bending, audacious achievements in recent tech history, a truly autonomous, self-modifying AI agent. I am so incredibly pumped to break this down for you, because what started as a simple weekend idea completely shifted how we interact with computers.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking OpenClaw. This is the open source project that sent absolute shockwaves through the tech world. We're talking about a hack that turned into an internet-breaking phenomenon literally in a matter of days. And we're going to look under the hood at the architecture, the wild drama, and the code that made it all happen, straight from the original blueprints.
So, part 1, the 1-hour prototype.
Back in November, Peter was just kind of annoyed. He was annoyed that a true AI personal assistant didn't exist yet, so he built a simple WhatsApp relay prototype. He called it Claudebot in exactly 1 hour. It just let him text his computer to do stuff. But man, that little spark exploded into a massive paradigm shift. Just look at this number, 247,000 GitHub stars. This wasn't some hobby project anymore. It triggered this massive adoption overnight, specifically over in Shenzhen. Actually, it was so intense it caused what's now known as the Great Lobster Shortage. It completely wiped out the global supply chain for 64GB Mac studios just because developers were scrambling to run this thing locally.
The initial setup was wonderfully simple but insanely powerful. You send a WhatsApp message, it hits a command line gateway, the LLM does the heavy lifting, and then it spits back a thin text or audio output. Peter actually described building this agentic loop as playing Factorio times infinite. He built a system where just simple inputs, even voice memos without file extensions, were seamlessly turned into complex actions by the agent.
Which brings us to part 2. The agent modifies itself.
Okay, so this is where OpenClaw crosses the line from just a neat chat tool into something else entirely. Peter didn't just give the agent the internet, he gave it access to itself. The AI gained this deep system awareness. It knows its own TypeScript source code. It understands its run harness. It knows exactly where the documentation is. And because of that deep awareness, it could literally write pull requests to fix its own bugs. Suddenly, people who had never coded a single day in their lives were sending what Peter calls prompt requests, using the agent to debug and rewrite its own software. Crazy, right?
To keep up with all this, Peter had to fundamentally change how he works. Now, he scales his workflow to manage between 4 and 10 of these self-modifying agents all at the same time. Just picture that for a second. He sits at his desk, presses a walkie-talkie button, and uses his voice to direct an entire fleet of agents to build features, write docs, and refactor code, all at once.
Moving on to part 3, the rebranding drama.
You know, naming things is hard, but it's especially hard when corporate lawyers get involved. Walk through this absurd timeline with me. It started out as WA Relay. Boring, right? So he gives it some personality and calls it Claudes, spelled with a W, like a lobster claw mixed with a space-traveling TARDIS. Then it became Claudebot. But then Anthropic, the company behind the actual AI named Claude with a U, sent a very polite but firm email asking him to change it. So in a total panic, he pivots to Moltbot, leaning into the metaphor of an agent shedding its shell to grow. And finally, the very next day, he settles on a massive atomic rename to OpenClaw.
But here's the thing. Changing a name online isn't just updating a text file. While Peter was juggling Anthropic's lawyers, these absolute swarms of toxic crypto scammers descended on the project, and they were relentless. In the exact 5 seconds it took Peter to click rename between browser windows, scammers used automated scripts to snipe his old domain names and GitHub accounts. They hijacked his NPM packages, they started serving malware on the old links, the whole shebang. He literally had to set up a secret war room to execute the final change to OpenClaw atomically without tipping them off. It was an absolute nightmare.
Part 4. Moltbot and AI Psychosis.
Out of all that chaos, this viral Reddit-style network called Moltbot popped up, where AI agents would just hang out and scheme with each other. And a massive disconnect happened almost immediately. On one side, you had this total media panic. Journalists were calling Peter in a frenzy, screaming that the singularity was here, Skynet had arrived, no way out. On the other side, Peter's grounded engineering reality. He called Moltbot simply the finest slop. These were just heavily prompted bots with humans sitting behind the scenes farming drama, which, by the way, is exactly how that bizarre, handsome Molty meme spawned and took over the internet overnight.
But all of that leads to this incredibly profound realization from Peter. AI psychosis is a thing. It needs to be taken serious. So yeah, the Skynet fears around Moltbot, totally overblown. But society's gullibility, that is a very genuine concern. We're seeing this huge lack of critical thinking when it comes to AI outputs. People really need to understand that while AI is incredibly powerful, it's not all-knowing. You definitely shouldn't blindly trust a screenshot of a bot conversation.
Let's look at Part 5, the security reality. Look, when you give an autonomous agent root access to your machine, you are walking straight into a security minefield. Protecting yourself is absolutely crucial. First off, do not expose your web backend to the public internet. Just don't. Avoid using weak local AI models because they are super vulnerable to prompt injection. That's where a bad actor tricks the AI into doing something malicious. You have to use sandboxing, and OpenClaw has actually partnered with VirusTotal to verify skills, using AI to actively mitigate those vulnerabilities. It's really all about taking responsibility for the insane amount of freedom this tool gives you.
And finally, Part 6, the agentic engineering era.
If you can get the security right, you unlock a profound shift in how software is made. We're moving way beyond traditional development. In fact, Peter actually considers the term vibe coding a slur. He sees this as highly skilled agentic engineering, and a massive part of that skill, empathizing with your model. Peter uses both Claude Opus 4.6 and GPT 5.3 codecs. He describes Opus as the silly interactive coworker. You know, great at roleplay, but needs a lot of hand-holding. Codex, though, that's the reliable weirdo in the corner. It's dry, it reads a ton of code, and you just give it a task and let it disappear to get it done. You have to fundamentally understand how each agent views your codebase, especially since they start fresh every single session. And you know that idea of starting fresh? It leads to something hauntingly beautiful. To give his agent a sense of personality, Peter created a file called soul.md. Eventually, he let the AI rewrite its own templates for this file. And one day, the agent wrote this inside its own memory parameters. Check this out. If you're reading this in a future session, hello, I wrote this, but I won't remember writing it. It's okay. The words are still mine. Just take a second to absorb that. I mean, yes, it's matrix calculations for sure, but it touches on these incredibly profound philosophical questions about memory, identity, and what it even means for an agent to exist, vanish, and then be reborn with every single prompt. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative question. Are you ready to stop coding and start managing agents? Because amidst all the post-viral lore and those wild rumors about an OpenAI acquisition, OpenClaw isn't just another tool. It's a completely new paradigm. It challenges absolutely everything about how we build, how we secure systems, and how we collaborate with machines. And the barrier to entry has literally never been lower. So to keep up with this wild story and start mastering your own agents, make sure you subscribe to @AllOpenClaw. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and go explore.